And I thought of it as someone who probably has a keepsake. And had the hardest time departing with it. And when I got it, I thought, I want that. I know. And I have my own kind of thing. But
It's hard to get rid of them.
oh, it is. When I was moving out of my what's this? And you want to really take everything you got here and I said, no, who do I give it to? Or where do I dispose of it? And then give me the spirit of the future. So I asked for.
That's my problem.
Yeah.
I'm very similar. I have my parents, they juggle with it.
Oh,
I've got some beautiful things that they've got. Then I have my grandparents. And my brothers and sisters. Well, just take it to Marcia. She's got room.
yeah, she's got
And,
you really
and,
have a measure.
and you know.
Yeah. Yes.
How good it is. Get it shorter, maybe. I don't know. She didn't want to cut. She didn't want to scare me. So my hair was down to here. Oh, really? And then I don't know when she could. Friday.
Right. And did you sell it?
No, no. No,
That's the first thing people like.
I know. Yeah.
No, but
No,
yeah,
it-
distributing it out.
this is something I'm pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, were you here last Saturday? Were you here last Saturday?
I wasn't the only one,
Oh,
so he took it easy on.
oh, well, that's nice, but you know, by yourself.
Yeah.
I'll be here this Saturday.
Good, yeah. I really like the Zoom, but yeah, he helped me relax.
There you go. Sometimes we just need that.
Yeah,
And they have, like I said, just one-on-one with them. That's nice.
yeah.
I think it's,
It's just easier, more relaxed.
yeah.
No,
I bet.
I don't see it. I didn't see it. Probably anywhere. Oh, okay.
And you didn't see it all. I mean,
Oh,
it's just.
okay. Yeah. Okay. I'll have for Friday mornings. Maybe I just. Oh, yeah, mine's a, oh, yeah, you're right, or maybe right as I come in. Mine's my 9:45. Gone. Yep.
Oh.
Did I get you in the durian?
No,
Nope. Okay.
You didn't get me either.
thank you.
I know, the weather's been a little crazy.
Yeah. It rained last night.
Get in there for my lunch
Yeah.
chance, right?
Is he at
Tonight.
business or am I the only one? You know?
Oh, yeah, there's potential.
Well, you know, I think yeah, that would be.
Especially when.
That I know.
So.
You know what I mean?
Portions, and then you have the numbers,
I've never seen.
how you're.
But I have never seen.
Yeah.
For years.
Here you go,
Like
Jan.
sunsets and
Thank
stuff.
Oh, you have a pen.
Right.
Oh, geez.
You wanna be?
Yeah.
Well, sure.
Right. I know, I was watching, the storm.
Just the
chaser
name
thing
is
last
good.
night. Oh, yeah, that's gorgeous.
Thank you.
I don't
I'll
think
take this from.
Right.
Oh, you got
Now
it?
you gotta take that one.
Yeah.
You take the one that has the office people on it.
There you go.
The names. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
We,
Great. I know. Yeah.
Oh,
So
thank you.
we call the number, then you know that
That
one.
one? Okay.
right?
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, I got a bunch of numbers.
Did you?
999.
Maybe that'll be a good sign.
Oh, I guess that's an 8.
Oh, they did. Right. Yeah, I have a couple I can show you.
I have never seen a little girl. just trying to-
I got two pictures.
Yeah, I got it. They're on my case.
Right.
Large, and then that one came out both things, Friday and Saturday.
So
And
those were the clouds one day when I was at work.
he was not behaving. Oh.
Right? I hadn't tried it either, and I thought it was amazing. And then all these things
Yeah,
were
they
white.
sleep. So then they-
Yeah.
No, that's not. Oh, yeah, that's.
I think it's probably like a military thing, but
Over, what do they call it, flyover?
yeah, yeah. But all of them just side by side and everything was pretty cool.
Yes. You know.
Right? And the sky was just like clear.
Yeah.
You can see him, so.
That was good.
Oh, and then I've never seen like thing like that before.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
See that? That's really gorgeous. Your arm. It's like it's on fire.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like that. I was like,
If I take one of it, you mind?
no, you can go ahead.
That is.
I can turn it up for you to make it brighter if you want. So it comes well.
I know. You got it.
Yeah, there you go.
You know, after celebrating, Pentecost, that.
Yeah, perfect.
Hey, everybody.
Hey.
You ready?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I'm excited. Let's jump into this thing, shall we? Yeah. So who here wants to learn about health art or heart health? Yeah, let's do a little dyslexia today. It seems to be a day for that. So you guys have a few things in front of you tonight. First off, you've got Dr. J, right?
Yeah.
Behind you, you have all of Facebook. So don't say anything you don't want Facebook to say. That goes for me too, right?
Yeah.
I gotta be
Oh
careful,
my.
gotta watch myself. I don't want to end up in Facebook jail. Yeah, and then you've got your friends around you, right?
Yes.
Because health is done best in community. So we're gonna dive into this thing tonight. Imagine, if you will, with me, that in his infinite wisdom, at the beginning of all time, God Almighty set us on earth with a ticking time bomb inside of our chest, with this fatty, waxy substance that was destined to build up in our arteries. We clog those arteries down, that our blood pressure would increase as our arteries would harden, and eventually our hearts would just stop.
Now, what did you say?
Basically, what I just said is our current health paradigm
Yeah.
when it comes to heart health. It's a very disease-focused paradigm that really focuses on an inevitable ending.
Yeah.
That ends with a quarter of us, right? One in every 36 seconds, someone dies from cardiovascular disease, statistically. It's the #1 leading cause of death, and it's been there for decades. So if we're going to be healthy, I think #1, we have to start by flipping the paradigm on our head. And that's really the cool thing, is right now, today, tonight even, we have hundreds, if not thousands of people joining us. This is Max Living Nation. So you guys might not realize this, but there's over 350 offices across North America. I know this is not completely anatomically accurate, but all the way from Puerto Rico, all the way up into Canada.
Wow.
This evening, there are people joining us just across the country to learn about not just what is heart disease, what is cardiovascular disease, but how to keep yourselves healthy
Yeah.
in all of this. And really the purpose behind this, the purpose behind all of these different companies and chiropractic offices is that we, not we as the office, not we as Max Living corporate, but we as in the people that choose to be Max Living patients become the standard for natural healthcare, where everyone is empowered to live their full potential. And not just for the world, but for our families, for our kids, for our friends. Because I'm sure if we went around the room right now and I asked you who's somebody that needs to be here to learn how to better understand cholesterol, or better understand blood pressure, or better understand atherosclerosis, we could all think of at least somebody. But, you know, what did St. Francis of Assisi say? Wherever you go, preach the gospel, and when necessary, use words.
That's exactly it.
And you guess what? This is also good news.
Yes.
It may not be the gospel of Christ that he died on the cross for our sins, that we could live with him forever, but he did say that I have come that you may have life and have it to the full. Didn't he?
Yes. Yes.
So do you think he created a ticking time bomb inside here? No, he created laws and principles that we can either choose to live by or we can choose to ignore. All right? And what does he say in Hosea? My people perish for lack of knowledge. Right? So in 2020, this was a year of fear and doubt and quarantine. Does anybody doubt that fear and anxiety and depression can have a physiological response on the body? Oh, yeah, it's 100%. I mean, just look at the blood pressure, right? That goes up when you watch Fox News or CNN. I don't care which end of the spectrum it is. Their job is to raise your blood pressure. And so what did I stop doing?
Watching them.
And reading
Yeah.
too, right? Everybody's trying to sell. It's just, I mean, I have Facebook ads. Some of you may have seen them. I try to sell, right? We do that by raising your blood pressure, creating an enticing offer. Everybody does it. It's against your better nature to pay attention, though. It's against your best interest to pay attention. So we have to shut it off, right? So what did we do, though? Instead, we took time off from our workout routine.
Yeah.
What do you think that did for blood pressure? Yeah, and in spite of everything they told you in the news, guess what was still the leading cause of death in the United States? Yeah, and even when you're talking about this virus that shut the entire country down, guess how many comorbidities the average person that died of this virus had? 2.9. Leading one being obesity. Second on the list, heart disease, cardiovascular disease. And so we really do have to focus on our health, right?
Yes.
And so every time I do a talk, and those of you that have done one of these with me before, you know what I'm about to write, right? What am I about to write?
0 and 100, where are you?
That's right, Jan. Take it to a founding member
Yes.
to understand the story. So a lot of you guys have been here a lot of times before. Some of you, this is your first time. Anybody here for the first time? Awesome, good job, guys. The first part of winning this battle is showing up.
Yes.
You have to show up. If you get a gym membership, you pay hundreds of dollars a month for this gym membership. Doesn't do you any good unless you show up. Right? So congratulations. Some of you have been here for all of them, right? And it's great. And you hear things over and over, because I say them over and over, because why?
It's important.
It's important. How many times did Jesus say the most important things?
Oh,
Repeatedly.
3. And I'm not Jesus, so I have to say more than that
yeah.
for them to get them to really sink in. So what is health? Health is a state of 100% optimal function and the ability of your body to heal. So it doesn't matter if you're talking about brain health or spine health or heart health. It's true everywhere. The truth is the truth is the truth. If I start dealing in partial truths, you might as well call me a liar, right? So let's deal in truths 100% across the board. Where do symptoms show up on this function chart? 60%. You have to lose 40% function for a symptom to show up. So is it in our best interest to focus on blood pressure when it becomes high? No, the best way to prevent or to not have heart disease is to prevent it in the first place, not to reverse it. That's the hardest way. If you wait until the heart attack, if you wait until the doctor says your blood pressure is too high, you wait until the doctor says your cholesterol is too high, there. Now, your medical doctor, what's he want to focus on?
Pharmaceuticals.
Medications, right? And I was listening to an interview on one of these podcasts that I think it was a pretty good one. I think it was like Freakonomics or something. They do a good job of producing it. And they had this medical doctor on there, and they were asking, what's one of the best things that we can do to help lower the effects of heart disease? And he said, well, we need to add statin medications to the water supply.
On top of fluoride.
Yeah, on top of fluoride, on top of chlorine, on top of all this stuff. And guess what? It's already there.
Yeah.
If you look at our water supply, it's not that we're adding it, it's that we have so much of this in our urine that it's actually making its way back in to our water supply even after filtration.
Wow.
And so we have to start addressing this, not from a, and I'm going to get into stats today. I'm not pharmacologically trained at all, but it doesn't take a genius. It doesn't take a doctor to look at side effects list and correlate that with disease rates in the United States. So we're gonna jump into that. So focus on function. How do we get to function?
Mobility.
Mobility, right? So that's essential 4. We'll call it fitness, right?
Okay.
Yeah. What's essential 3? Or 5? Last month was 5. There we go, toxins. Someone was at the last class.
Yes.
3. 4-letter word.
Food.
There we go. 2. You guys have spent a long time on this.
Sleep. Is sleep one of them?
Sleep is kind of all.
Oh, okay.
And number 1 is mindset. Thank you, Kyle. I think Kyle gets a gold star. Give the man another ticket. So we're going to do a raffle at the end of the night. If you guys remind me, I got some goodies for you guys. So you look at this and you look at it statistically where our nation is going. I mean, you think the United States of America is doing well in these categories?
No.
How's our mindset? We're so scared.
Depends if you
But
turned
let's-
off those.
Yeah, turn off the TV. It's not quite so bad. Turn off the internet. It's not so bad. But the littlest thing comes through and we're ready to hand back our freedom, right? Mindset wise,
Yes.
prioritize the most important things, which is obviously our safety. If
Yes.
Jesus come that we might be safe and have safety to the full.
No.
Because that's the Chinese church, how that's working out.
Uh,
All right, the most vibrant, alive church in the world, most persecuted church in the world. Right? We're trying to, hide 30 million people so they can meet for church on Sunday. It's just incredible. But yeah, no, is the future bright? Oh, it's hard to have rose-colored glasses right now, but it is. Why? Because we're fearfully and wonderfully made. Our bodies, our hearts, they're designed to heal and they're designed to repair and restore themselves. Our heart is brand new, somewhere between every 5 and 10 years at a cellular level. We get a brand new heart. Now, that's really good news if we start investing in this stuff, right? All of it, hopefully. But if we start going the other way with, having that toxic mindset where we feel like where we're at now is the peak of where we're going to get, if that's how you feel, you're right. I can't convince you otherwise. I can't change that. You have to change that. I can tell you you're wrong, but that's counterproductive, right? But we know that people that are told that they're good at learning and they have so much potential actually learn better than people that are told that they're smart. It's incredible. Nervous system, what controls all health and healing? Central nervous system, food, right? How does that intelligence that sits inside the central nervous system recreate your heart? Well, it's raw nutrients. It doesn't just copy, it's not just a copy machine, right?
Yeah.
No, it uses raw ingredients, the food that we put in our body. How we move, how do we get oxygen to all those cells? We need that blood flow, right? And then toxins can absolutely interfere with that, so we need to minimize our exposure to those things. So we're going to dive in there, and we're going to show that our amazing heart. Guess how much blood we pump through our arteries every single day? 2,000 gallons. 2,000 gallons of blood on a single day. And that does that for what God said should be about 120 years, but he built it at creation, right, to do that forever. We were eternal beings at creation,
Yes.
right? And then what do? We separated ourselves from the Creator. But still, we lived almost 1,000 years. Methuselah, Noah, Adam, over 900 years old. Wives, too. They just didn't list women in the Bible.
Right.
Missed the mark there.
Yeah. Thank you, John.
Leave it to a patriarchal society to leave the women out. Yeah. And then what happened there? Man continued sinning. And God decided that it was time to restart, reset, and he put the flood in. And there's a theory out there that when the flood happened, that there was this almost greenhouse effect around the earth that created an equatorial-like environment worldwide that was ideal for humans to survive it. And when the waters fell, that environment was destroyed. And so God didn't have to limit us to 120. The environment in which we lived limited us to 120. But how many of us get to 120? Not many of us, right? Yeah, hardly any. A few make it past. I don't think this is a hard and fast rule. God's just, he's observing and recording and communicating with other humans that this is where it's going. There's more chairs in the class. Sorry. So, yeah, it's just incredible where we've come from, but then we continue to interfere, right? Interfere with health, interfere with healing in those areas, but our heart can't overcome that. And some of you have been living a certain way for so long that it's going to be hard to switch the momentum, right? This is a direction that we're traveling in each of these areas. It's not a hard and fast, where are you today? That's a snapshot. That's like taking your blood pressure once, never getting the rhythm of it, right? What if you're fleeing from a tiger? That's a pretty stressed out blood pressure, right? But let's not focus on that one. Let's focus on how you do after you recover from the tiger being gone, right? Hopefully you survived.
Yes.
But really, it comes down to what we believe about how we heal. And this is what I believe. And this is what all chiropractors believe, or they should believe, because this is chiropractic principle number 25. The characters of innate forces, the forces of innate intelligence, never injure or destroy the structures in which they work. Would it make sense for God to put an intelligence inside of us that is capable of destroying us? It sounds like a cancer. It sounds like a disease process. That doesn't sound like something of God. That sounds like a consequence of not following what God has taught us or what God has laid out for us, right? But think about this in context of cholesterol. Cholesterol is built inside your liver. All of the cholesterol in your body is constructed in your liver. If cholesterol is the enemy, then God is attacking us with cholesterol. So what does that tell you?
That's not the problem.
That's not the problem. It's got to be something else. So we have to figure out what cholesterol is there for, right? So let's figure it out. We're going to go through the 5 essentials, and we're going to apply those to how do we heal the heart. So number one, let's identify the true cause, the cause underneath the cause. We know that there are certain markers that are dangerous, right? If you have high blood pressure, if you have high cholesterol, if you have low blood pressure, if you have plaquing in the arteries, these are all signs that something's going on. What is it there for? Why is it there for? So let's identify the cause, number one. So heart disease, what's the cause? Any guesses?
Diet, inactivity.
Lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
Right? This stuff opposite. This stuff opposite. It's lifestyle. We know that over 95% of what kills us is due to our lifestyle choices on a daily basis. And so, what are those causes? Well, how does it affect cholesterol? Most people would say cholesterol is the cause of heart disease, or having high cholesterol is the cause of heart disease, and that there's good cholesterol and there's bad cholesterol. Let's say this together. There's no such thing as good cholesterol or bad cholesterol. There's only necessary cholesterol. So that there's no such thing as good cholesterol or bad cholesterol. There's only necessary cholesterol. Why do I say that? Well, each of these actually has a role that God designed for it. Good cholesterol regulates LDL storage and promotes excretion. That's in the liver, it transports. So look at this example. What's it doing to the LDL cholesterol? It's carrying it, right? So it's a transporter, essentially, right? The innate intelligence inside of us tells the good cholesterol to go up and to carry the LDL cholesterol wherever it needs to go. All right? Okay, so why does it end up in our arteries?
There's inflammation.
Yeah, inflammation, right? So LDL cholesterol, it stores cholesterol in the bloodstream. Why would it need to store in the bloodstream? Well, its job is wound healing, to fight inflammation. And so one of my mentors, he actually had a cholesterol level, a blood serum cholesterol level, over 400. Now, if he had gone into the medical doctor's office and gotten that tested, what would they have done to him? They wouldn't have given him a pill. They wouldn't have let him leave until they got under control, right? Now, they never looked at why that cholesterol. He knew why. He was fighting Lyme disease, a very, very powerful inflammatory autoimmune attacker that comes from ticks, right? Right. So he got that and he's fighting it. Now, if he had taken the drug to lower the cholesterol, what would he still have?
Fine.
Because he didn't attack the cholesterol and because he focused on the cause, what doesn't he have? Did he cure it? Or was it the innate intelligence that got placed inside of him that knows how to do it? By leaving his cholesterol levels high, it actually allowed his body to fight and heal. Right? Kind of flips the story on its head, doesn't it?
Yes.
Is cholesterol bad?
No.
Is it good?
No.
It's necessary. Necessary, right? So here's some truths about cholesterol. Cholesterol is not the cause of heart disease. Oxidation of cholesterol is one of the causes of heart disease. More people have heart attacks with normal cholesterol than elevated cholesterol. Why do you think that is? Because people with inflammation end up with high cholesterol and they take what? Statin medication to lower the cholesterol. There's higher death rate with low cholesterol than high.
So why are medical doctors still pushing lower your cholesterol?
Money.
Well, you could say money, but it's also standard of practice, right? I mean, it's a very, thought-provoking argument to look back at the history of these cholesterol medications and medical practice. And once there's a standard of practice, once it's taught in medical school, I mean, I know a couple of you have had a high level of education, but you think about just drinking out of that fire hose of information through 4 years of school. And then you get another, year to 2 to 3 to 4 of residency. And you're just learning from these experts and learning from all these people. You're not taught to question anything. You have to have a questioning mindset to go from what they taught you about standard of care to like, maybe we should question whether what we've been doing for the last 4 or 5 decades might actually be contributing to the problem. But you look at this, this is done in 2018. They know this. This is out there. This is in the literature. This is a comprehensive review of the current literature. So those of you that know research, this is the best. You review all the literature and LDL, bad cholesterol, right? Does not cause cardiovascular disease. They know it. Yeah, and you look at this. I'm just going to read this to you because it's pretty much a slap in the face to the standard of care. For half a century, a high level of total cholesterol or low density lipoprotein cholesterol, LDL-C, has been considered to be the major cause of atherosclerosis and cardiovascular disease. And statin treatment has been widely promoted for cardiovascular prevention. However, there is an increasing understanding that the mechanisms are more complicated and that statin treatment, in particular when used as primary prevention, is of doubtful benefit. In educated speak, it's like, you guys were way wrong, right? It's like, bring out my gauntlet, slap you across the face, stop doing it, right? That's essentially what they're saying. What this is saying, and it goes on to basically explain the mechanisms of what cholesterol does in your body. Guess what it's necessary for? Brain health. Right? If you lower your cholesterol levels, guess what suffers? Your brain. Guess what else suffers? Everything else, because what does your brain control?
Everything.
Yeah. Guess what's gone up in the last 50 years? dementia, Alzheimer's. I mean, just name the neurologically degenerative conditions. What are we more susceptible to? Neurologically degenerative conditions. Guess what that also impacts? The spine, right? Because as the nervous system doesn't hold integrity at a cellular level, the spine can't hold you up anymore. It's not functioning as well. It's all connected together. So poor habits lead to high LDL cholesterol. What are those poor habits? Pizza on a Friday night, ice cream every night of the week, you know, not exercising enough, not exercising at all ever, right? You know, just these things that we do on a daily basis that undermine all the good stuff that we're doing, right? You can be digging your grave while also investing time and money and resources into getting healthy, right? Right? We all have some of these. We're on a journey. I'm not here to condemn any one of you. I'm here to help you and to coach you, right?
Yes.
And so we just personally, we have to get very reflective with this stuff. And we're going to go through it and we're going to figure out what are those things that are interfering with it more specifically. But when it comes down to it, are statins the answer to a cholesterol issue?
No.
Because is it a cholesterol issue? No, it's a lifestyle issue, right? And if you treat the effect rather than the cause, are you ever truly going to get healthy? No. Is there a time and place for a statin? Probably. I'm not an expert in pharmacology. I just know that when A plus B equals C, that, you know, we should probably be looking at A and B and not just C, right? So can I advise you to stop taking your statin medication? No, and I'm not going to, because that's a personal choice. And I don't say a personal choice between you and your doctor because it's a personal choice.
Yes.
You have to decide what the value is. You have to decide what the risk is. What's the risk of taking it? What's the risk of not taking it? Has it been shown to be effective in preventing heart disease? No, but has there been a time and a place where somebody's been having a heart attack or having a stroke, and it has been effective in helping keeping them alive? I believe the research says that is the case. And so our allopathic model, which focuses on symptoms, is very effective at keeping you alive in a crisis. If you're having a health crisis, absolutely. Our medical doctors are some of the best trained emergency technicians in the world. They'll stitch you back together from places that you didn't even imagine you could survive going. But in keeping you healthy, are they doing well or are they failing?
Failing.
Because it was never their job, right? Just like it's not a firefighter's job to, you know, prevent you from creating a fire. His job is to manage the forest fire that you created. That's the medical doctor's job. My job is not to prevent you from creating the forest fire. My job is to teach you, right? I'm Yogi, or not Yogi Bear, Smokey the Bear. Smokey the Bear. Hey, boo-boo. Right? So what are some cholesterol supporting nutrients, right? Because cholesterol is not the problem, it is necessary.
Yes.
Say it again. Cholesterol is
Necessary.
necessary, right? So what supports healthy cholesterol levels? What nutrients do we need? Things like plant sterols and stenols. These, you know, this is part of the reason why vegetarians and vegans actually do so well with heart disease, because they're getting a lot of these things. Am I saying that you have to be vegetarian or vegan? No, but we need more of this in our diet. What's the average American consume in servings of vegetables a day?
One.
One. Yeah, and do French fries count? I don't think so.
No.
Curcumin, turmeric, one of the most powerful antioxidants on the planet, one of the most powerful anti-inflammatories on the planet. Does it block inflammation or does it work with your body to give it what it needs to reduce the inflammation naturally, to heal naturally? Yeah, the second option. How about here, red yeast rice? Yeah. If you need to lower your cholesterol in an emergency and you don't want to use statin, this has a very similar mechanism. A lot of people out there have heard of this and have been using it, but just know that it actually does block CoQ10 production. What's CoQ10? That's the next thing on the list. That is also an antioxidant that your body creates in your liver that is necessary for heart health. So just like a statin, red yeast rice can block the production of CoQ10. So I never recommend taking red yeast rice without CoQ10, just like I don't recommend taking a statin without CoQ10 as well. Because if you don't have CoQ10, your heart's also going to suffer. Right? What's another side effect of taking a statin medication? Loss of libido. Guess what they sold you a drug for after the loss of libido? Yeah, nitric oxide. Pretty incredible. So we've got a couple different packages tonight. You can see that on the other side. This package is for recovering from statins and also balancing out that cholesterol naturally. It's got the plant sterols, it's got the curcumin, it's got the red yeast rice and the CoQ10 in there. And so all the supplements tonight, if you get a package, 20% off, 15% off if it's not in the package as well. Which is our biggest discount of the year because you guys have invested a lot to be here, right? You guys have invested a lot. You've committed to doing something about your health. So I'm going to make that a little bit more advantageous. So understanding plaque and atherosclerosis. So if that waxy substance, cholesterol, isn't the cause of heart disease, then what is this plaque doing? Well, it's for wound healing. Right? So if you live in a lifestyle that's very inflammatory, what's that inflammation doing inside your body? Same thing that would do on the outside of your body, right? If you were to get road rash, like fall off your motorcycle and slide down the interstate and tore the skin off your arm, would that inflame a little bit?
Yeah.
Right? Now, would that heal if it was just your arm?
Yeah.
As long as you get all the road rubble out of it, you know, make sure it doesn't get infected, keep it washed, treat it appropriately, that would heal. What happens if before it heals, you get back on your bike and you do it again? And then you do it again.
More inflammation.
And you do it again. Eventually, you're just going to wear that out. But what's forming the scab on your arm? It's cholesterol. And if you keep running inflammation down your blood vessels, what's going to build up on the inside of the blood vessels? Plaque. It's the hardening cholesterol, that atherosclerosis inside. And even if you take a statin, and that's like, let's say it's a roto-rooter, and it cleanses it out. And even if you take the red yeast rice, and you don't change the things that are creating inflammation in your life, the arteries are going to harden. And they're going to swell up. And it's going to be narrow. And what's going to go up? Blood pressure, right? And this is one of the major things that we see with atherosclerosis is the blood pressure increases, which puts more strain on the heart, which makes it more likely that as this continues to clog, that the heart's going to end up failing or have a heart attack, right? Part of it's going to die. And that's how the heart attack happens. So we often blame this on fat, though, right? You say you get too much fat in your diet. And it's not the fat, it's the type of fat.
Yeah.
In fact, when you look at the fat, it's not even the fat. You could argue that, you know, we're vilifying even quote unquote bad fats, right? When I talk about the processed fats or the trans fat, it's more so that we heat up the fat. Heated fat, cooked fat is the one that goes to the arteries. Now, some more so than others. Extra virgin olive oil is a fantastic fat. What happens if you cook it on medium heat and it starts sizzling and smoking? It denatures it and it becomes an inflammatory fat that ends up not in the donut, in the artery, right? I was used to the other one, right? There we go. It ends up there. So extra virgin olive oil is a fantastic fat, but should you be cooking popcorn in it at that 5 setting? No. What's a good one to use for that?
Coconut.
Coconut oil. What's another good one?
Avocado.
Avocado. Excellent stuff. What?
What about peanut oil?
Peanut oil is usually in place. Usually. All right. So when are French fries a good idea?
Never.
Probably like maybe once a week, right? And I live my life by the 80-20 rule. Maybe I should go 99-1, but you know, it's more 80-20. And so 4 meals a week, I eat what I want. And sometimes it's, you know, whatever mother-in-law cooked for me or you know, friends took me out for, or one of those things, but I planned it ahead of time and I grocery shop 100%, maybe 99-1, right? I get that one thing for myself that I put in the freezer for that special time with my wife, right? You notice I said freezer, special time with my wife, not anything kinky, right? But yeah, no, you plan it out ahead of time, 80-20. And then it's you're going to win. You're going to win doing it that way. Why? Because God designed us to be able to recover from these things. Why else would he give us a liver and kidneys other than to filter out the bad stuff? Like he planned for us to fall before we even fell. He knew what free will meant before he even gave it to us. So we vilify fat though, but fats can actually be part of the solution too. Right? What is one of the most powerful anti-inflammatory fats on the planet? Omega-3s. That's right. Especially if you can get your body in the right ratio of omega-3s to omega-6s, that really, it reduces inflammation across the board. It can reduce blood pressure if it's a major cause is that influence. And so we look at those fats as well. So if we remove the interference after we've identified the cause, now we're heading somewhere, right? So what are some of those heart healthy fats? Omega-3s, avocados. If you can get some of these things in their real source, like a cooked olive doesn't denature like olive oil does. Cooked avocado won't denature even at high heat, although I don't recommend eating cooked avocado. It's way better raw, right?
Yeah.
Get some guacamole, just put it on a sandwich. It's fantastic stuff. Salads even. Yeah, so when you're looking at this stuff, salmon is great. How about beef? Anybody like steak?
Yeah.
Yeah. Grass-fed though, right? Because what's that corn-fed got? The omega-6. Omega-6s, but yes, antibiotics as well. A lot of inflammation is a lot of anti-inflammatories as well. So, these are things that we have to choose for ourselves. We're not going to roll up to the drive-through window and accidentally get this stuff, are we? Because it's for a company, it's not budget conscious for them when they can just hand you the cheap stuff. So we have to make this decision for ourselves. In the grocery store, vote with your dollars, essentially, right? Because when we choose to buy this stuff, there's going to be more of this stuff in the market, and it's going to be cheaper. It's going to be more sustainable too. It's going to be better for the environment. The world, this is how God designed the world. Cows eat grass, chickens grub in the dirt for bugs, salmon swim around the ocean, eating other little things in the water. And then when we take those out of the environment, they get sick, and then we eat them and we get sick. So let's get back on track with the fats and really food overall, because it comes down to food by God versus food by manufacturing, right?
Yes. Yes.
Because we have to raise the food. God put us in charge of the garden, and we can choose how to raise that garden. We can raise it in a healthy way, or we can raise it in a way that doesn't promote it. I know I've got some farmers, some gardeners anyways. And so when we get food by God, it's definitely promotes health. Now, I mentioned nitric oxide earlier. What's the brand name for this? Starts with a V, ends at Viagra. Yeah, and so they were doing a heart trial with this thing to see if this helped with blood pressure and atherosclerosis and plaque. And what they found is, yes, it did, but a whole bunch of men checked this box that their libido got better. And so instead of marketing it for heart health, they marketed it for libido health. And so now we've got the little blue pill. But guess where nitric oxide is prevalent? It's prevalent, number one, in plants like beets. Anyone ever hear of super beets? Yeah, guess what? It's not organic. But beets have a high level of nitric oxide in there, which actually gives your blood vessels a lot more flexibility, the ability to absorb some of that pumping pressure through your arteries. So yes, more beets, but guess what else? Deep breathing, not just oxygen in general. You put somebody in an oxygen tank, they're not going to get more nitric oxide, but you make them do deep breathing exercises. And guess what happens inside the body? You produce more nitric oxide. Your blood vessels become more elastic, and they're able to handle the pressures of when the tiger gets released into the room, right? So much better. So if you have atherosclerosis, if you have plaquing of the arteries, this is the packet that we've put together for you. The Max Natto, the nitric oxide support, and then the garlic parsley oil blend, which is actually one of those anti-inflammatory potent combinations that I love. And it's oils too, it's healthy oils that you can get from those plants. So supplements though, they're not the main thing, right? I said this, right? You can take nitric oxide, you can take all this stuff, you can get all of this stuff. You can spend $500 on all this tonight, or what was it, $395 or whatever. You can spend $400 on all of this, but if you continue doing the sugar and not exercising and exposing yourselves to toxins, what's going to happen? Nothing. You might as well not have bought it. So don't buy my stuff unless you're willing to do the other stuff. Right? Not to say it's not beneficial, right? We're all taking baby steps, but don't just think this is going to cure you. We have to be willing to do the work. And that's the part that Americans don't love. Like, just give me the pill. Right? That's the easier part. Just give me the pill. I just want to feel better. But if we keep doing like everybody else is doing, do we expect that we'll get any different results? Is the trajectory going to change? Generationally, are our kids going to stop dealing with the issues that we've been dealing with?
No.
Are they going to deal with the same issues? Yeah, do as I say, not as I do, right? Yeah, I don't want my kids to take all the pills or medications or things. I want them to diet and exercise and live life to the full, but I'd rather just take a pill than deal with the problem. Get to the cause, right? Let's get to the cause. Let's make the choice. High blood pressure is known as the silent killer. Let me ask you this. Is the symptom ever the problem?
No.
No, the symptom is a sign. It's a blessing. Right? Anybody here know that they're gluten sensitive or intolerant? Okay, you guys are lucky. Guess what? Gluten is healthy for no one. There's nothing about gluten that is good for you. Gluten is literally an endotoxin released by plants in excess amounts when the plant is not ready or ripe to be consumed. Huh. Nobody's ever told you that one before, right? And so for those of us that know that we don't do well with gluten, that's a blessing. Because we know that we can't have it. But for those of us that don't know that that's an endotoxin, that it's literally eating away at our gut lining, separating those gap junction cells, it just happens, right? My people perish for lack of knowledge. Hosea, right? So is gluten never good for you? No. Is blood pressure, is high blood pressure good for you? It can be. If I released a tiger in this room, right? Who would survive? The person, the person whose blood pressure spiked with all the blood going away from their internal organs and out to their muscles, or the person whose blood pressure remained exactly the same and all the blood remained in their digestive system, continuing to do what it had done in the first place. It doesn't matter if I can beat you in a 50-yard sprint. I have to be able to get up out of my chair and engage in that 50-yard sprint. Yes, I'm standing, so I'll beat all of you. Right? Blood pressure is necessary in certain situations. In a stressful situation, you want your blood pressure to go high. And blood pressure isn't the problem. Pulse pressure is. So everybody's had their blood pressure checked, right? And you get this number, and it should be like 120/80 or 115/75. Notice that this difference. It's about 40, right? And that's the difference between blood being pumped actively on exiting the heart up against the walls of the arteries and the relaxed pressure of when it's not actually being pushed out. The heart hasn't contracted yet. If it's in that 40 to 55 range, that's a healthy amount. So if you have a 180/140, that's still a healthy blood pressure, still healthy pulse pressure. High blood pressure, but it's appropriate if you're sprinting away from a tiger or fighting off a tiger so everybody else can run away, right? Right? So we don't need to focus on the blood pressure itself, the pulse pressure. And why would the pulse pressure be high? Maybe there's some plaquing of the arteries or hardening of the arteries because WXYZ. Right? Essentials 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The pulse pressure is actually the real indicator. Somebody says they got their blood pressure measured at 180 over 140. I'm like, okay, great, take it again. See if you're still fighting the tiger. If it's still high, okay, what's the stress in your life that's keeping that high? But then if they say, no, it's 180 over 120, now that's 60. Or it's 180 over 100, that's 80. Now that becomes a real issue because there's way more pressure when you're pushing out than when you're relaxed. It's still elevated, which means that there's way more stress in your life. What kind of stress? Physical, emotional, mental, chemical, spiritual, right? It's all part of the story. And, you know, we live our whole lives collectively together, right? You can't separate any one thing out. You can't say, oh, well, it's because your mom said this when you were young, and that's the reason why your whole life went this way. No, that's one component. What did you do physically because of that? Did you eat a gallon of ice cream? Did that 1 gallon of ice cream create a habit that now you eat gallons of ice cream every time you feel bad? And then because you ate gallons of ice cream, you just sit on the couch instead of actively exercising on a daily basis. And yes, it can snowball, right? But it's all these different components. Did you isolate yourself instead of putting yourself in community? Did you turn to God with your worries instead of internalizing everything and creating that internal stress? All this stuff leads to high blood pressure, right? It's not any one thing. It's not any one decision. It's not any one thing that happened to you. So what do? Let's get that nitrous oxide in there, allow for the proper elasticity of those arteries. L-arginine, again, essential amino acid that your body needs for the elasticity of arteries in the heart, and then blood pressure support. Get some of those nutrients in there that will help to support a healthy blood pressure. And so you put the story together. Move strategically. No, I'm not talking about going for a walk every day. No, standard cardio versus high intensity, short duration. Which type of exercise do you think is best for the heart?
Short duration.
Yeah, short and fast. Challenge your blood pressure capacity. Challenge the elasticity of the arteries. Now, if you've had a heart attack and you're actively recovering, maybe you should listen to your cardiologist and, you know, not push too hard right away, right? I say maybe tongue in cheek because your body needs rest and to recover when it's had an injury like a heart attack. If you've had a stroke, same thing. But if we're going to improve the blood pressure, if we've never had any of those things, then we need to stress the heart. The heart's a muscle. The cardiovascular system, especially arteries, those are smooth muscle-lined tubes that are intelligent, that are controlled by your nervous system, that know how to respond to this thing. And so we need to actively be stressing that out. Stress is good for you in the right situation. It's the uncontrolled stress or the constant stress that really breaks you down. If all I do is I take a walk for 30 minutes or an hour even, let's say we go for an hour. After 30 minutes, what happens inside my body? It actually starts to release cortisol inside my body. What is cortisol? Stress hormone. The stress hormone will go everywhere. Guess what's going to go up with stress hormone? The blood pressure. Not the good way, but the artificial, the hormonal way. If I do 20 minutes on, 20 seconds on, 20 seconds off for 10, 15 minutes, where I go as hard as I can. I get cans of soup and I just go like this for 20 seconds. And then I want to, get my triceps as well. And I go like this for 20 seconds. And then I want to get my shoulders in. So I go like this with cans of soup, right? Everybody here can do that?
Yeah.
Right? Then I do that. Let's just say we do it for 6 minutes. My blood pressure is going to go up and it's going to come down. It's going to go up. It's going to come down. It's going to go up. It's going to come down. And guess what? That increases my capacity for my blood pressure to go up in a healthy way and my capacity for it to come back down. That sounds like a good thing, right? And that's actually the best indicator of heart health, is the ability to come up and come back down. To be able to variate and go all over the place with it, with your environment, with the stresses. Anybody not have stress? You think you can eliminate your stress? No, we can put it in proper context and we do things with it. But since the beginning of time, when God put Adam and Eve in a garden in this stressful situation where everything around them was perfect, and all they couldn't do was eat the fruit from that tree, right? And they had that decision to make, yes or no, for the sake of humanity, and they chose wrong because of stress. There's been stress of surviving, and stress of providing, and stress of just, living our lives, in one way or the other, God's way or the world's way, right? There's always stress. And if you're living God's way, oh, it's stressful. And if you're living man's way, well, it might be easier, but it's still stress because we're going to strive. But there's always going to be stress, and we have to be able to adapt to it. It's our ability to adapt and respond that's going to do that, and that level of exercise is going to do it best for you. It's an interval training. So yes, you can do the Max T3. Everybody's got your blue book, hopefully still. Some of you have the old green book. got some regulars. You got the Max T3. Some of you have the DVDs. Some of you have the bookmark and the access to the online class. But whatever you have, you don't have to follow that. You can do that with the walk. Some of you are just walking now and you're like, oh, I can't do burpees. No, I'm not going to demonstrate a burpee because my shirt's too tight. But yeah, if you go out and you walk, let's just say you walk at a faster pace for 20 seconds. As fast as you think you can reasonably. Reasonable, right? And then you slow it down for 20 seconds. Maybe even stop and catch your breath. That's allowed. And then you do 20 seconds hard again. And then you 20 seconds cool off. Or maybe instead of going hard, we go 80% of what we think hard is. But our blood pressure comes up, our pulse comes up, all that comes up, and we do that for a minute straight. We challenge ourselves for a minute at 80%. And then we give ourselves a minute to let it calm back down. That does the same thing over and over. So this doesn't have to be intimidating. This is something that each and every one of us can do. Right? Nobody's had a heart attack in the last 24 hours? If you have, talk to your doctor about an exercise program. That's for Facebook. So what type of exercise is best? The kind that challenges you. If you can keep a conversation while you're doing that type of exercise, you're probably not doing it. Right? You're not challenging yourself. So Max T3 on the go, it's absolutely an option for every single one of you. You can do it off of that bookmark. You can ask me for that resource. If you're watching on Facebook, text Max T3 to 531-289-7100 and I'll email it to you. All of you in the room, you're getting a digital copy of that tonight just for showing up. So hopefully I agree with all of right? But yeah, that's going to be something that you can do at home without any weights. There's going to be an option for exercise equipment too. If you have some of that or you have access to some of that, or you want to try to do it in the gym with you, you can do that as well. But absolutely doing that. And next is going to be balancing the nervous system. Why? Well, guess what? The way you think affects everything. It affects your stress levels. If you think the world is conspiring against you, that Joe Biden or President Trump or whoever has it out for you, I won't say anybody's name here because I don't want to be right, right? But if you think that, guess where your stress levels are going to be? Very high. And guess what? It's actually the balance between the central nervous system, the peripheral nervous system, the sympathetic nervous system, the parasympathetic nervous system. This is an MD. He says, these are all its dimensions, that most heart attacks are likely caused by an imbalance in your central nervous system and your autonomic or unconscious nervous system, which controls the function of your internal organs. And there's actually research to show that. They found that the function of the vagus nerve, heart rate variability, specifically being the measurement, was more predictive and more indicative of heart health than any other measure. So vagus nerve, where's that? Right here at the top. Here into the top bone of the neck. But who's checking your nervous system for this? They go in and maybe they do an EEG on the heart. And they put a pad here and a pad here and a pad down here. And they check how those nodes are doing in the heart. It's pretty incredible how electrical the heart is. But that's not even the best measure of how your heart's doing. Heart rate variability. And you can measure that with a simple fitness tracker. You can get a Fitbit and an app that'll measure that for you. And you can show yourself how good it is. And then there's some tools out there that'll tell you what type of workout you should do based off of how good your heart rate variability is to improve your heart rate variability. And guess what's even more potent than all of that? Chiropractic adjustment at C1. There was a study done at the University of Chicago. Dr. Bacris, he measured a control group and he measured a chiropractic group. The control group got fake adjustments. They thought they were getting adjusted. They hadn't been chiropractic patients before, so they didn't know anybody. The other group, they got actual adjustments, just at C1, as indicated. Not every time, just as indicated. In the direction that it needs to go, right place, right time. The control group, predictably, no change. The chiropractic group, their blood pressure, and they all had to have high blood pressure to be in this group, it dropped by 14 points.
Wow.
Guess how many blood pressure medications it would take to get that much? 2 taken simultaneously. Guess where research with that is going? Nowhere. Because there's no money in it for people that have money. Right? And so what do I make sure I check every single time you guys come through here? C1, is it out? Is it out of place? Which direction does it need? Check your feet. Check how it's moving. Because ultimately, it's not just your nervous system, or it's not just your heart that needs your nervous system, right? It's every cell, tissue, and organ in your body. And guess what? If your digestive system is off, is that going to create stress for your heart?
Yes.
And you're going to develop much of that. And if there's interference down here going out to your digestive system, how well do you think your heart's going to function over a long period of time? Probably not as well. You might not die of heart disease, but the stress caused to the heart because of the digestive distress, because of the subluxation at your spine, is absolutely going to play a factor in your overall health. So should we leave that scoliosis down there? No. Should we leave the spondylolisthesis or the hyper curve in your back or the low curve in your back? No, probably not. We need to keep a balanced nervous system because a balanced nervous system is a healthy nervous system. Now, some of us have come to this, after a lot of years of abuse to our spines, haven't we? We live decades without ever having anybody check our central nervous system, without having anybody check our spine. And you can tell when you get there, it doesn't always feel good, right? It's been used and abused. And what are all of you guys doing right now that I'm not? We're sitting.
Right.
And what does an hour of sitting do to your life expectancy? Is it as good as smoking or is it better? It's worse. It's worse than smoking. An hour of sitting is worse for your health than smoking. Why? Because just by sitting down, you go from this smooth 45-degree curve to a 35-degree curve. And guess what? If you didn't start with a 45-degree curve, guess where it goes from? The point where you were at. And what does that do? It creates tension on the spine. And then that creates nervous system dysregulation. Puts you in fight or flight. And then when I do the scan, everything shows up in red or pink bars. You say, Dr. Jake, why am I not getting better? Well, because you're sitting in front of a computer all day. You're sitting in your car all day. Or you just want to sit down in your lazy boy all day. Or, the list goes on. Right? Because we love to sit. Because God created us to sit. Right? He gave us 2 big butt cheeks. just for our comfort. Right? No, we get those butt cheeks because we don't use the 2 big legs that he gave us to walk around on, right? Right? Absolutely. So it's diet, it's exercise, it's all these things, right? And wherever we've come from, wherever we're going, the number one thing I always say to start with is the central nervous system. This is where I start with my dad. You guys all know my dad's story because you're all my patients. If any of you don't know my dad's story, ask me. But basically, congestive heart failure, didn't know about it. I was able to diagnose it. We started with the central nervous system, even though every single one of these categories needed to change because the central nervous system controls every single one of those categories. Biggest risk factor for him. He'd lost half of the curve and his head had gone forward over 2 inches compared to his shoulders. He was basically walking around like this. Old man posture, right?
Yes.
What do you see go first in people that have Parkinson's or heart disease or any of these things? It's their posture. They start walking around like a little old man or a little old woman. I've seen some of that too. Right? I'm not going to be gender racist or whatever you call it. Genderphobic. Words are escaping me. Yeah, so we fixed that. We brought him up and back. Not all the way because he'd lived that way for a long time. He'd been adjusted maybe twice in 69 years. Sorry, 59 years. My dad's not that old. 59 years. So we got him up. Guess what happened? Everything started coming back. Did he ignore the rest of these things? No, he plugged into them. But he started with the nervous system. We started with the chiropractic. And we added the other things in as he was able. We went down this journey. We walked it together, hand in hand, which some of us need to do, right? I'm on this journey with you. I'm not perfect. Anybody here perfect? Okay, good. I wasn't ready for the second coming yet. But Lord, come quick, right? So the spine is body armor. When the spine goes out of alignment, guess what happens? It disrupts the nervous system communication. It increases stress. Your prefrontal cortex stops being able to see what's at the other end as well. I kind of liken it to a dimmer switch. And I don't have any in this office. But if you take, a hallway that you've walked your entire life, and you start dimming that light switch, you can get it all the way down to black and still guess how to get down that hallway. But guess what happens when you leave your tricycle, or your 2-year-old leaves their tricycle in that hallway? And then your 8-year-old leaves their shoes in that hallway. And maybe you had a little bit too much to drink. And then you have to dodge that stuff. That's exactly what your brain has to go through when you have subluxation. It knows what the heart's supposed to do. Your innate intelligence, that intelligence that God put inside you to control your blood pressure, to control your cholesterol, to control the elasticity of those blood vessels, it knows what to do. But it doesn't know how to account for the obstacles that it cannot see. And that's like putting blinders on. It's like making it drunk or putting a tricycle in a dark hallway. It's going to create obstacles, and then it's going to get dysfunctional. And so we need to fight that. Just by not having proper mobility in your neck, your brain doesn't function as well. That's not even with the spine out of alignment. Let's just say you lose mobility. Let's say you can't bring your ear to your shoulder. Your brain doesn't function as well. There's not as much ATP that's produced in your brain because the discs are moving as well. So you need to be able to get your ear to your shoulder. And the other side, you'll be able to get forward and maybe not touch your toes, but get your waist down there so that it's getting close. There, you should be able to fully extend backward. You should be able to look over each shoulder without cheating, right? You guys know how to cheat. Yeah, get the lumbar spine involved. Yeah, no, and all that stuff that plays a role together. And so, no, are we ever going to be perfect? No. That's the ideal. That's for the second. The second. We'll get there someday, right? Maybe after we pass all this life. We don't know when Christ is coming back. It seems like it's sooner and sooner. Yeah. But in the meantime, does he want us to ignore our earthly bodies? No. I mean, Paul talks about winning the race as if to win a prize. He talks about not being conformed to the patterns of this world. I mean, the world's really got it down pat as far as ignoring their bodies, don't they? Especially this world, the United States of America, where almost 70% of us are either overweight or obese. Yeah, it's no wonder we're dying of heart disease. But maybe if we had put a huge tax on soda and said that you couldn't go outside unless you were running or, on a bike, and gave huge taxes to cars and huge incentives to move closer to your office, instead of saying, everybody stay home, wear a mask, don't go out, maybe we'd be a little healthier in 2021. Maybe. So wobble exercises. One of the best ways I can give you to improve your spinal mobility. If you can't get your ear to your shoulder, you think you should just sit here and try to crank it down to your shoulder? Grab your head? No, probably not. But just like with fitness, we get a little better able to do the things we're supposed to do. We increase that function, right? We can do the same thing with our range of motion with wobble exercise. You don't need to join your yoga class. You might enjoy it. It might be worthwhile. But if you wobble back and forth, your age, number of reps, every single day, twice a day, you think your range of motion is going to improve? I certainly hope so. It's everything I've ever studied about structural correction. Is to improve mobility, work on mobility. right? And so we have these series of wobble exercises that you can do every single day. And just by doing them, guess what's going to improve? Production of ATP in your brain. Guess what that means? Your brain has more energy. Guess what you're going to feel? More energetic. Guess what you're going to want to do? Move more. Stuff. Yes. I love that. I love it. So that's what we're going to do. Our action steps today. Number one, if you haven't had your spine or nervous system evaluated, Facebook, YouTube, this is for you. Get that evaluated. I'm running a special right now. $42 for not just the exam, but all of your x-rays. Yeah, wow. How much does that normally cost?
Way more.
Way more. Thousands. If you go to the imaging center, right? We just took 2 views.
Yes.
With insurance, out of pocket, $65. So not bad for just the 2 views of x-ray. That's with great insurance coverage. So regardless of your insurance situation, if you haven't had your spine evaluated, if you know somebody that hasn't had their spine evaluated, take advantage of it. Do that. Father's Appreciation Day. So we had Mother's Appreciation Day after Mother's Day. Guess when we're going to have Father's Appreciation Day? After Father's Day, right before my birthday. Yay! Yeah, so we're gonna have a kind of a party day. It's gonna be 10% off all services that day. They can get the same discount on the spine and nervous system evaluation. If you have friends or family that haven't had this yet, they can come in for that. But we'll be celebrating that day. Discounts on all sorts of stuff. And then our next workshop, guess what? Advanced nutrition and supplementation. Some of you know the basic information. You need to know the advanced stuff. You know that you should be eating a little lower carbohydrate, a little healthier fat. You know you should be exercising more. You should be getting these things. You don't necessarily know that you need to do that. So we're going to be doing that towards the end of June. I haven't picked the date yet because I'm also moving towards the end of June. So I have to make sure I pick a time that my wife's not going to kill me if I'm not there. All right? Well, sound like a good plan? You guys want me to be here still. So we're going to pick a date for that. This one, pretty set in stone, the Monday right after Father's Day. I believe that's June 12th, if I'm not mistaken. May's behind me, so I have no option to see that. What?
21st.
Oh, it's the 21st. Late on that, so it's after my birthday. Lucky me.
It is late.
It is late in June. So tonight as well, don't forget, if you need any of these bundles, you got the wellness bundle. This helps with the prevention. CoQ10 is absolutely an essential antioxidant for your heart health. The garlic and parsley oil blend, great for heart health as well. And then the cholesterol balance bundle there, it's got the red yeast rice with CoQ10 in it, the curcumin, the plant sterols, high blood pressure bundle if you're dealing with high blood pressure. And without any of the other issues, then this is probably the best one for you. And then the blood vessel support, if you know you have atherosclerosis, and go there. Everything, all these bundles, 20% off tonight only. Tonight only. If you're watching on Facebook Live, you can text supplements, that same number, 531-289-7100. And tonight, we'll give you that 20% discount off of those bundles. Anything else tonight is 15% off. So you showed up at the right place at the right time for those as well. But then we're also doing something even better. We need to move, right? 65% of us stop moving. We need to start moving. And so for some of you, that means getting back to your wobble exercises. You used to be good at them. Now you're not so much anymore. That's your baby step. That's the low-hanging fruit that you need to pick. Not the one from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. No, the easy one. The good one, tree of life, right? Some of you, maybe you need to get out and walk a little harder. Maybe you put some cans of soup in your hand while you're doing it. Pump so that you don't get that double wave going on. Right? Right? Pump with that, yeah? Some of you, maybe you really need to push it. Challenge yourself. Go harder. You've been doing it a certain way for so long, and you're okay with where you're at, but you know you can do better. Maybe it's time to challenge that. Go a little harder with that. Some of you need to join a gym. You need to do it in community. Some of you need to pick a workout buddy. But for the next 30 days, we're doing this together. Life together, right? So when you do this, do hashtag life together on your social media posts. I'll find it. You'll be entered in a raffle for next time. Guess what? There's going to be a prize for next time. There's going to be a little bundle. It's going to have somebody's name on it. because they did life together.
Hashtag what?
Life together.
What if we aren't using our Facebook right now?
Then let me know.
Text you.
Instagram.
Oh my gosh.
or what's the next one? TikTok it?
I don't.
I
TikTok.
don't know anything.
I do have Instagram, but I.
Yeah, just don't Snapchat. That's
Oh.
those go away. So yeah, absolutely. So stay plugged in, get connected. We want you as part of the family. Keep coming back. Bring your friends. Keep showing up. And absolutely tonight, don't try to do everything I just talked about. Pick one or two or three things that really stuck out, that convicted you, that you felt like it was the thing that you needed to hear, that you need to start implementing. Pick that. Don't try to do everything. You know, some of you just need to go back to the book. Read through the book. That might be a good step. Some of you need to look at the appendices a little harder. Look at what's involved in the core plan or the advanced plan. Some of you need to look at the shopping list. Some of you need to, ask me when I'm doing my next shopping tour. Guess what? I haven't scheduled it. Why? Nobody's asked me to do it. It's that simple. So we can do those things. But absolutely, stay connected, stay plugged in. We'll stick around, we'll answer your questions, and we'll keep you connected, all right? All right.
What was
Thanks,
that
guys.
number?
All right.
Oh, the phone number?
Is that all that was?
Yeah, I was saying it for Facebook.
Oh, that
Yeah.
was-
Yeah, they're all watching and paying attention and learning all sorts of good stuff. All right. I'm gonna go turn Facebook on.